Space wasn't supposed to be complicated, at least, that's what the old sci-fi novels had promised. A few aliens here, a few laser guns there, and inevitably, humanity would either become best friends with the galaxy or blow it up. In reality, it had been a bit of both, but with more paperwork than any author could have predicted. When the Earth Coalition finally joined the Galactic Council, people were nearly bored to tears by years of treaty negotiations. Paper shuffling did not exactly make for a thrilling opener to humanity's grand cosmic debut. Yet, the moment the Coalition's starships glided into the Council's primary starport, the universe perked up. Humans, with their varied cultures, unwavering curiosity, and knack for turning awkward jokes into borderline international incidents, had become the galaxy's most oddly charming newcomers. Stories spread among the outer systems about Earth's vibrant music, ridiculously delicious deep-fried snacks, and, of course, that baffling fetish for coffee. In galactic cultural exchange programs, it wasn't unusual to see an alien dignitary complaining that caffeine was a tasty but heart-palpitating poison. Humans just laughed it off and offered them a donut instead. Meanwhile, the so-called Galactic Empire, officially the Empire of Renath, eyed humanity with increasing suspicion. The Empire of Renath had once been the unchallenged hegemon in this region of space. 2 centuries ago, they reduced entire star systems to rubble for minor trade disputes. While their power had waned over the decades, they still liked to throw their weight around whenever they felt threatened. And humans were, in Renath eyes, the ultimate cosmic wildcard, resourceful, insatiably curious, and annoyingly difficult to intimidate. To ease tensions, the Galactic Council arranged a high-profile meeting on the neutral planet Ladera 7, a place famous for its breathtaking turquoise cliffs and a local beverage rumored to be both aphrodisiac and a potent laxative, one of those unfortunate 2-in-1s for the less cautious. Human delegations arrived early, as though they were planning to set up an interstellar barbecue. They had crates of Earth delicacies, spicy wings, craft beers, and pastries stuffed with suspiciously neon-colored cream. Jokes flew around that the pastries might be used as chemical weapons. The human response? Only if you're lactose intolerant. The Renath delegation arrived with far more pomp, golden starships bristling with ornamentation and soldiers in gleaming armor. Their leader, Grand Imperator Trulthon, was known for an ego the size of a small moon. He gave a short, stiff greeting, referencing human upstarts and implying the Earth Coalition's technology was quaint at best. Human diplomats smiled politely, but behind those smiles was the typical Earthborn mixture of pride, ambition, and the mild urge to sarcastically retort, "We'll show you quaint, buddy." The meeting began smoothly enough. Council members from dozens of species milled about, sampling Earth ale and scanning the neon pastries to be sure they wouldn't spontaneously combust. The dull, droning speeches were delivered. Council leaders praised unity and called for lasting peace. And that was when rumor began to swirl that the Renath might not remain content with the polite formalities. Whispers had reached the human delegation that the Empire felt cornered, threatened by Earth's rapid advancements and alliances. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, there was a grand feast, and the humans wanted to make a good impression. The lead human diplomat, Ambassador Celeste O'Donnell, was famous for her razor-sharp wit and the biggest appetite for chili-spiced noodles. She even joked with her staff, "If we can't charm them, we'll out-eat them." The Empire's aristocrats eyed her with thinly veiled disdain. Celeste, in turn, discreetly rolled her eyes and wondered if their fancy armor was covering up some cosmic-level inadequacy, metaphorically and literally. So, as the artificial sun of Ladera 7 set, everything seemed poised for a peaceful if somewhat tense evening. Nobody expected that a single spark, one ill-timed confrontation, would lead to the unstoppable firestorm of war. Tomorrow, humanity would find itself at the heart of the biggest crisis since it entered the galactic stage, and this time, there would be no calm negotiations or comedic confusion over dessert ingredients. Instead, there would be screams, blaster fire, and the echoes of something far darker, the death of a diplomat who was only trying to keep the peace. Morning on Ladera 7 brought the anticipated round of final talks, a formality, really, to close the negotiations and reconfirm peaceful cooperation. Ambassador Celeste O'Donnell rose early, had her triple shot of espresso, and teased her staff that if anything went wrong, she'd personally launch a coffee mug at someone's crotch. It was a harmless joke, but ironically foreshadowing. By midday, the world would be reeling from something far worse than an indignant coffee cup to the family jewels. The session began in the Great Council Hall, an awe-inspiring chamber built from polished stone and translucent metals that refracted the bright sunlight in rainbow arcs. Alien delegates filed in, many bleary-eyed from the previous night's feasting. Celeste, known for her practical approach, had come armed with a digital notepad and a half-eaten muffin. The human team was set to finalize trade deals, medical supplies, starship technology upgrades, and the all-important cultural exchange of comedic holovids featuring Earth stand-up comedians. Perhaps it was the comedic videos that unnerved the Renath delegation. After all, a species that can laugh off existential dread might be the scariest competitor of all. Just as Celeste was about to propose an expanded medical assistance program, a Renath officer, decked in ceremonial armor and a scowl that suggested chronic constipation, stepped forward. He accused the human side of sabotage, pointing to a malfunction in one of their starship's docking clamps. Celeste looked from her muffin to the officer's face, fairly certain she was dealing with either a poorly timed prank or a delirious paranoid meltdown. The rest of the delegates murmured in confusion. Sabotage accusations were serious, and no one had any proof of wrongdoing. Grand Imperator Trolthon rose from his ornate seat, waving a data tablet as if it were the verdict of a cosmic trial. He claimed to have uncovered irrefutable evidence that humanity had tampered with Renath communication arrays, leading to critical data leaks. Celeste calmly asked to see this evidence. Trolthon refused. That was the moment the tension peaked, an accusation with no proof, humiliation on the Empire's side if they backed down, and mounting frustration among the humans who just wanted to solve problems logically, preferably over a fresh pot of coffee. Suddenly, Trolthon barked an order to his armed guards. Before anyone could blink, a squadron of Renath soldiers advanced. They cornered Celeste, blocking the exit with menacing halberd-like energy weapons. Council delegates gasped, some reaching for personal defense devices. Celeste tried reasoning with Trolthon, her voice carrying both fear and defiance. She reminded him that any act of aggression in a council hall was punishable under galactic law. Trolthon scoffed. Apparently, the law was only meaningful when it favored the Empire. A single gunshot, an old-fashioned ballistic sidearm from one of Trolthon's personal guard, shattered the formal atmosphere. Amid the cries of protest and panic, Celeste O'Donnell collapsed, a bloom of crimson spreading across her diplomatic attire. The stunned hush that followed was like a vacuum. Everyone realized the gravity of what had just happened. A human diplomat had been executed in front of multiple alien delegations. The Empire had effectively declared war. Pandemonium ensued. Council security rushed forward, disarming the Renath soldiers. In the chaos, Trolthon retreated behind his own men, a twisted grin on his face as if he had just gained an upper hand. He probably expected the council to stammer and attempt to keep the peace. But at that very moment, across the crowd of stunned onlookers, Celeste's deputy, Ambassador Arjun Sharma, locked eyes with Trolthon, the dying Celeste still in his arms. There was no peace to be had now. Only retribution. Human communication channels flared. Word traveled from Ledera 7 to Earth at faster-than-light speeds. Ambassador Celeste O'Donnell is dead, the message read. Shot by Imperial forces. Immediate recall and mobilization. No more talk of comedic holovids, no more illusions of forging a carefully balanced peace. Humanity had been insulted on a galactic stage. Their diplomat's life was snuffed out in plain view. The council could scarcely contain the fallout. Some delegates tried to intervene, babbling about diplomatic resolutions. But the humans were past talk. Back on Earth, the military high command convened. Fleet Admiral Josephine Wang, known for her savage wit and equally savage negotiation tactics, was quoted as saying, "They just killed our top diplomat." Well, guess who's about to get a boot shoved so far up their imperial backside that it'll come out of their fancy helmets? It was the last official statement before the Earth Coalition declared total war. Anger, grief, and a fierce sense of unity swept through Earth. Videos circulated of Celeste's final moments, fueling outrage. Civilians, usually content to sip their morning coffees and grumble about traffic, were now demanding blood. Social media lit up with hashtags like #RememberCeleste and #TurnRenath to Space Dust. Even the planet's top comedians interrupted their normally raunchy routines to vow to roast Trelthon's empire like a strip of bacon at Sunday brunch. If the Renath thought they'd cower humanity with one bullet, they had sorely underestimated their target. The Earth Coalition's War Council convened in orbit aboard the ECS Aegis, a dreadnought armed with railguns the size of small skyscrapers. The senior staff included admirals, generals, and an AI overseer ironically named Sunshine, a dark-humored nod to the grim tasks at hand. Fleet Admiral Wang presided, her stare rumored to be so intense it could lower a soldier's sperm count by sheer intimidation. The Admiral's first move was simple and direct: mobilize the fleets. Second move: instruct ground forces to prepare for multi-world engagements. They weren't just going to let the Empire hide on their capital planet. Humanity would strike every stronghold, every fortress, systematically. Meanwhile, the Renath scrambled to justify their actions. Their state-controlled broadcasts claimed Celeste had been a spy caught red-handed. When questioned by neutral parties, the Empire's top officials provided nothing but rhetorical excuses. They had lit the fuse, and now faced the unstoppable bomb that was humankind's collective wrath. Yet the Empire believed it could stand against Earth's inferior technology. In reality, humans had spent decades refining weapons with the help of newly allied species who were downright gleeful to see the Empire humbled. The result was an arsenal that combined human ingenuity, like projectile-based railguns that tore through shields at close range, with advanced alien shield tech that protected Earth's ships from the Empire's outdated beam weapons. 3 days after Celeste's murder, the first major engagement took place in the Galactic sector, a contested region known for its mineral-rich asteroids. When the Empire's flagship squadrons warped in, they found a surprise: the Earth Coalition's Fourth Armada waiting in perfect formation, flanked by Allied frigates from the Orvani Republic. Initially, the Renath opened with a traditional volley of lance beams, expecting Earth's defenses to crumble. Instead, the Coalition's shield systems glowed faintly, absorbing the energy. Then humanity returned fire with kinetic rail slugs, massive tungsten rods propelled at near-light speeds. Imperial ships buckled. Explosions speckled the vacuum. The human soldiers on the comms made jokes like, "That's one way to open a can of whoop-ass," as entire Renath cruisers disintegrated. One of Earth's captains, Sylvia Park, became a viral sensation after her open comm feed caught her yelling mid-battle, "Listen, you pompous turd knockers, you messed with the wrong species. Now bend over and kiss your hull goodbye." The broadcast was relayed all over Earth, promptly turned into comedic remixes, and probably sent the Renath's propaganda ministers into a fit. The Empire retreated, tails between their legs, no longer convinced that Earth was an easy target. But the Empire was massive. They still held countless star systems loyal to their rule, some by fear, others by genuine loyalty. Earth's War Council predicted a long, brutal slog. They worried about Allied casualties. They worried about the potential for the Empire to use biological or chemical weapons. The Orvani, the Kelter, and several smaller species pledged their fleets and armies, all having suffered under the Empire at some point. United, they formed a coalition strong enough to give the Renath nightmares. Between battles, the tension took on a grim humor. Soldiers swapped stories of hooking up with alien volunteers. Some found the universal translator a bit lacking in the heat of the moment, leading to comedic bedroom miscommunications. "I said I wanted to try your local dessert, not your local desert," said one Marine who found himself naked on an arid planet with a very confused alien partner. Despite the seriousness of war, these occasionally raunchy, laugh-inducing anecdotes reminded everyone that life went on, and that humor was humanity's secret weapon against despair. Then came the decision to push straight toward the Renath core worlds. Admiral Wang reasoned that leaving the Empire's heart intact would only prolong the conflict. Allies voiced caution. A direct assault on the Imperial capital was practically a suicide mission. But Wang, with that trademark blend of confidence and aggression, declared that the quickest route to peace was through the Empire's throne room. And so, the final campaign was set. Humanity and its allies would gather at the edge of Renath space, where they would launch a coordinated strike. The ghosts of Celeste's final moments loomed large in everyone's minds. The entire galaxy watched, unsure if Earth's ragtag coalition could penetrate the Empire's strongest fortress worlds. In hushed corners, some whispered that Trelthon might have advanced superweapons hidden in his vaults. That hardly stopped the Earth fleets. After all, humans had already faced extinction-level threats back on Earth, climate disasters, global pandemics, countless times that humans nearly wiped themselves out. If they could survive their own stubborn idiocy, what was an arrogant alien empire compared to that? So, with savage determination, the human-led coalition set course for the final showdown, ready to either liberate the galaxy or blow everything up in the attempt. No one dared to doubt them. Over the course of weeks, the combined coalition fleets jumped system by system, smashing through Renath outposts. Each victory chipped away at the Empire's morale. Reports surfaced of conscripted Renath soldiers surrendering en masse, unwilling to die for Trelthon's ego. Still, the Imperial core worlds were no joke. Defense platforms ringed each planet, bristling with cannons that could vaporize smaller ships in a single blast. The deeper the coalition pushed, the more it felt like they were gut-punching a cornered beast, dangerous, desperate, and just cunning enough to orchestrate a final, lethal strike. Eventually, the coalition arrived at the Renath capital system, a star cluster called Orthega's Crown, where the Empire's seat of power resided on the planet Valtherion. The orbit of Valtherion glimmered with countless Imperial battleships, each locked in a strategic formation that dared any invader to advance. In the center of it all was Trelthon's personal command ship, the Glorious Dominion, rumored to house an arsenal of planet-cracking weapons. Admiral Wang, her knuckles white against the Aegis's command console, looked at the sensor readouts and muttered, "Time to see who's got the bigger guns, Trelthon." The opening salvo was brutal. Imperial cannons lit up the void, forcing the coalition to break formation and weave among the intense beams. A few Allied frigates were vaporized instantly, painful losses. Yet the humans and their allies pressed forward, returning fire in a coordinated assault that hammered the Imperial perimeter. Explosions rippled like fireworks in the blackness of space. Over open channels, Trelthon's voice echoed with haughty fury, "You dare challenge the rightful rulers of the galaxy? Grovel, or be obliterated." But humanity never was any good at groveling. Amid the chaos, a strike force led by Captain Sylvia Park broke through the defensive ring. They targeted the Glorious Dominion's shield generators with a series of pinpoint railgun shots. Imperial escorts swarmed, but the coalition battered them from behind. Orvani interceptors zipped through the fray, leaving trails of plasma that carved up Renath fighters. On the capital's surface, ground troops landed under heavy fire. Marines from Earth, nicknamed Grumpy Bastards by some admirals, stormed the Imperial Palace, capturing or neutralizing every guard who tried to stop them. While that final assault raged, Trelthon prepared his trump card, an ancient doomsday device rumored to harness a star's energy. Standing on the Dominion's command deck, he boasted to his officers, "If we can't rule, we'll watch everything burn." Yet as Trelthon initiated the weapon's firing sequence, the battered but resolute ECS Aegis appeared on sensors, barreling straight toward the Dominion's flank. Admiral Wang had loaded the entire payload of the Aegis's main railgun, a monstrous tungsten slug lined with exotic explosives. In a last, desperate maneuver, the Aegis fired. The slug tore through space, punching a hole in the Dominion's hull. A chain reaction rocked the Imperial flagship, sending shockwaves that shorted out the doomsday device mid-charge. Chaos reigned on Trelthon's bridge. In one final act of arrogance, he refused to surrender, vowing to drag all of you miserable apes into the blackness with me. But the only thing dragged was Trilthon himself, down into Valtherian's atmosphere as the Dominion lost power and began a fiery descent. The Coalition watched from orbit as the Empire's mightiest ship streaked across the sky, disintegrating before it could crash. In the aftermath, Renath forces across the galaxy either laid down arms or were swiftly subdued. The Empire, decapitated and exhausted, collapsed into a chaotic transitional government that soon signed an unconditional surrender. Coalition delegates arrived on Valtherian within the week, overseeing the disbanding of Imperial forces and initiating war crimes investigations. Meanwhile, humanity, ever the showman, broadcast the good news across every known system: the Empire has fallen, and justice has been served. For many, there was no celebration without remembrance. They held a massive memorial for Celeste O'Donnell on Ledera 7, the same planet where her life had been taken. Delegates from newly liberated systems attended, placing flowers and tokens of gratitude. In a speech broadcast live, Ambassador Arjun Sharma dedicated the victory to Celeste and every soul lost to Imperial cruelty. He ended with the line, "Our message is clear, we stand together, and we do not falter." After the ceremony, the humans put on a slightly irreverent victory party. Amid the tributes, tears, and reconstructed starports, you could still find soldiers sneaking shots of alien liquor that tasted like spiced honey, or hooking up with those they fought beside. Stand-up comics from Earth performed in half a dozen languages, cracking jokes about how Trilthon probably had the smallest plasma cannon in the galaxy and how they hoped the afterlife made him watch Earth rom-coms on repeat. It was humanity's signature blend of respect for the fallen and an irrepressible desire to laugh even in darkness. And so, with the Renath Empire toppled, an era of relative peace dawned in that corner of the galaxy. Of course, new challenges would arise, no shortage of cosmic threats or ambitious despots. But if one fact had become undeniable, it was this: humans might be messy, irreverent, and recklessly bold, but they were also fiercely loyal and immensely determined. They had avenged their fallen diplomat and reshaped the galactic balance of power. Standing among the rubble of the old empire, they proved to friend and foe alike that if you dared strike humanity's heart, you'd best be ready to face humanity's wrath.